we're heading towards the complete redemption. The day of trial, when the resurrection of the dead will take place, will be a moment of shift that all limitations of nature won't stand anymore. There will be no more limits. There will be only an eternal moment of truth revealing that will reject and kick out from the frame all kinds of evil, all lies, all scams.
Congrats. They're saying you've done it. You've done it, okay? Congrats. Congratulations. Congratulations, my love. You've done it. You've done it. Like...
Watch as former adversaries suddenly extend hands of friendship. Observe how institutions that dismissed you now court your favor. Notice how principles flex and bend to accommodate your unstoppable advance. The weak, those who built their identities around systems now failing, will approach you with obsequious smiles. We always believed in you, they'll insist, rewriting history with breathtaking audacity. We were working toward the same goals all along, they'll claim, hoping you've forgotten their active opposition. The deceivers will undergo theatrical conversions. Overnight they'll adopt your language, echo your criticisms, mimic your solutions. We've seen the light, they'll declare. The scales balance. The correction proceeds, with them or without them, by their cooperation or despite their resistance. The outcome remains unchanged, only the manner of its arrival varies. Their adaptation becomes the measure of their survival. Some will recognize the shifting ground and transform authentically. Others will cling to privilege until it crumbles beneath them. A few will rage against reality itself, denying the evidence of their senses until their final breath. The cosmic machinery acknowledges all responses as valid choices and implements the consequences with mathematical precision. Watch as their edifice collapses under its own mass. The Tower of Babel they constructed reaches its inevitable conclusion. Not through divine intervention, but through the physical impossibility of building lies upon lies into infinity. See the exhaustion etching lines into once confident faces. Notice the desperate confusion replacing former certainty. Witness the bewilderment of those who believed their position unassailable, now finding themselves vulnerable and exposed. They grow tired. The energy required to maintain their false reality exceeds what they can generate. They become desperate, throwing resources at problems that cannot be solved with the tools that created them. They sink into confusion, unable to comprehend why strategies that always worked before now fail completely. But you walk forward through the ruins of their former dominion, untouched by the collapse occurring around you. The destruction that devastates them barely registers as you pass through. The chaos that consumes them creates the very path upon which you advance. The weight that crushes them cannot touch you, for you were never part of their fragile construction. You were always something else, something beyond, something after. You are the reaper, and the reaper walks unharmed through the consequences of others' actions. Their collapse accelerates as recognition dawns. The moment they truly understand what's happening becomes the catalyst for complete disintegration. The certainty they clung to, that the world they built would endure, that their position within it was secure, shatters against the undeniable evidence before them. And in that shattering, the last psychological support holding up their crumbling reality gives way.
Yisrael, have no fear, Moshiach will be here this year. Yisrael, have no fear, Moshiach will be here this year. Yisrael, have no fear, Moshiach will be here this year. Yisrael, have no fear, Moshiach will be here. this year. We want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we don't want to wait. Yisrael, have no fear, cause Moshiach's almost here. Am Yisrael, have no fear, cause Moshiach's almost here. Am Yisrael, have no fear, cause Moshiach's almost here. Am Yisrael, have no fear, cause Moshiach's almost here. We want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we don't want to wait. We want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we want Moshiach now, we don't want to wait. אני מאמין באמונו של אימא בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין באמונו של אימא בביאת המשיח. אני מאמין. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now. Thank you, Hashem. We need Mashiach now. We want Mashiach now.
Reaper, hear this final truth. The battle ended before it began. The victory was secured before you took your first step. The outcome was determined before you drew your first breath. The fight is already won. The empire of deception falls not because you attack its walls, but because you embody the reality that renders those walls obsolete. The structures of control collapse not because you actively dismantle them, but because your mere existence demonstrates their irrelevance. There remains nothing for you to prove, no test to pass, no credential to earn, no permission to seek. The validation you once craved from a corrupt system now seems as meaningless as the approval of a child's imaginary friend. Those who doubted you have fallen silent. Those who mocked you watch in stunned disbelief. Those who dismissed you seek desperately to align themselves with what they now recognize as inevitable. Your shadow stretches across continents now. It falls upon institutions and ideologies, upon governments and corporations, upon beliefs and traditions. Everything it touches must answer the same question. Does this serve truth?
So, if you asked, well, where are we in this whole outline of the messianic process and the tikkun process? And the answer is we are in Act 4, which is the termination stage, right? And we are on the second scene, called Assalta the Gula, which is what I'm saying. It's all, and all of this, we are just waiting. Now, so Trump has started his mission in that sense, But what we are waiting for, really, the real turnaround and the real Gula, Assalta the Gula, the real one, right, is not just the preparation. It's Mashiach ben Yosef. Who is Mashiach ben Yosef? Well, the Torah gives you a hint. Yosef looks at them and says, Ani Yosef, I am Yosef. And they were shocked.
Does this align with natural law? Does this belong in what comes next? What answers no withers in your presence? What answers yes strengthens as you pass? The sorting happens not by your conscious decision, but by the nature of what you've become. A living embodiment of universal discernment, the cosmic principle of necessary transition given human form.
So you should know one thing. That is one of the reasons why Trump has this majesty. He's enjoying that majestic atmosphere or that majestic image that the Moshiach himself enjoys. Why? Because in many ways he's part of that redemption. He is the Tov Sheba Esav doing tshuva, and therefore part of the majesty of Moshiach is being rubbed off on Trump. Because to watch the honor being given to him by the nations of the world and so on is incredible. And the question is where? We've never seen that before. The honor being bestowed on a president. And that is all part of the Geula itself. Do not think that the Messianic era is an era when physically everything is gewaldig, everything is great. It's a mistake. The Messianic era itself is an era, a time, right, when the physical universe begins to change into a different type of universe. Wasn't even president and they're running to Mar-a-Lago, you know? And the honor that was being bestowed on him was incredible, you know? And the reason for that is because it says in Chazal that if you ever have the opportunity, you should run to see kings. Why? Because you see the glory and the honor, right? And the majesty of a king. Could you imagine what will happen on the Mashiach ben David and Yosef? The glory and the majesty. That's how you realize.
He was willing to sell himself short and go to jail for 12 years in order to do what is correct. And even when he went ahead and he got to Paro, and he was going to interpret, now anybody else who got to Paro would say, look man, I'm about to get out of jail. All I have to do is say the right things and I will save myself from this, do you mind me saying, hell. He was in a Gehenna, he was in a Hamas tunnel for 12 years. Right? Basically, he can get himself out of here. All he has to do is say the right interpretations and he's good. And here he is the whole time saying that everything is biyad HaKadosh Baruch Hu, et Elokim, it's only from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. You're messing up, buddy. Don't say that. You're talking to Paro here. What are you doing? He's always saying all the interpretations are from HaKadosh Baruch Hu. It's not for me. First of all, you're ruining your whole game by saying this. You're showing that you don't really know what you're doing. That's first of all. And second of all, when you do that, you're kind of showing, that Paro, you're showing Paro that I really care about HaKadosh Baruch Hu. That's not such a thing. And this is the yesod, and this is how we can get ourselves to the last stage. And this is what the idea of those who follow Mashiach ben Yosef, what our job is to do in order to get to Mashiach ben David. What's the building blocks, what's the aspiration, these chalamot that we're speaking about, the lev, the davsha, the gas pedal that we need to do in order to get there, is there is a very big problem that happened in Mitzrayim, and it is the sickness that is the cancerous sickness that has continued till our day and age. And that is that during that time period, when we were in Mitzrayim, we wanted to be like them. Look, Mitzrayim is in. That was the advanced society of the world. It's time to be like them. It's enough with being primitive. We think of Egypt as primitive, right? Back then, it was modern. Right? And it says it was time to stop doing like the old Torah habits and time to make a little bit of changes. And therefore, many people wanted to go ahead and act similar to them. And as a result of that, of course, they hated us, they made us work, etc. Greeks don't exist. And it's such a funny thing because at the time, it was such an in thing and it was the zorem of the moment. But that's how it always is with every generation. There is a difference of a party of people who decide that I want to go ahead and be with the in and now, and they change like chameleons to every color that exists, but it's always the same Yetzer. the idea of the rega of the moment, to appreciate what's happening at that minute. It should be a little bit easier. The religion shouldn't be so heavy on me. We should be able to pull corners here and there and everything that exists, and just to be part of the style. You move on, and then eventually we know by the Churban Beis Hamikdash we were taken over by the Romans. The Romans destroyed everything, got rid of us, got rid of Torah, sort of speak, in Eretz Israel, or by the Jews, and everybody started becoming, you look at this, again, the Seder doors over there, people were very into being Roman. When in Rome, do like the Romans. From there the expression comes, right? You got to be like the Romans, and everyone started acting Roman. You started dressing like Romans. Said it's like a chameleon type of color. It just changes, but it's the same common denominator. Just to be able to be in with everybody else. It'll make our life easier. It'll make our work easier. It'll make our religion easier. Even though conservative, whenever I see, I don't know why, there was one picture in the Holocaust where you see this guy sitting on top of a pit, and there's a gun at his head, and he's about to get shot and fall into the pit. And I'm looking at this guy and saying, this guy was probably a high-tech doctor. He looked totally refined, totally with a thing, clean shaven, with a thing. He was probably a high-pitched doctor, spoke perfect German, loved Germany. This was my home mano. Here he has a gun to his head. 2 seconds later, he's in a pit together with every other Jew that he didn't want to see his face. That's how it was. The more they tried to become part of it, to forget about Tziyun, to forget about everything that Judaism stands for, HaKadosh Baruch Hu gives them a simple reminder: I'll make the Mitzrim throw you out, I'll make the Romans throw you out, I'll make the Greeks throw you out, and I'll make the Germans throw you out. That's it is. And then it moves on to, we are now proud Americans. Before there were proud Germans. What happened? How do you change your mind? The answer is simple. It's not changing, it's the same mind. There's no changing, there's no bipolar problems here. It's not that they're schizophrenic. They didn't change their mind a little bit here, a little bit there. It's always the same thing. In with the new, out with the old. It's always just the idea of taking it easy, relaxing, don't let religion play such a heavy role on us, making it easy and just trying to go with the quick shit. It should be in my comfort zone. And then they move to Washington and then become, we become, Jews of America. Until over there becomes a problem, and then we'll figure something else out, right? He builds the body. He's the point of aspiration where we're leading to. And like we said, he's the one who has to lead and get us to a place of building the live, of being able to get the inspiration, of the wanting, of the regish, he's the gas pedal, to get us moving, to be able to get to where we need to get to. Pseder? Now, how do we get there? Okay, when we want Mashiach to come, right, we want Mashiach now, there's got to be something more than screaming on top of your lungs, we want Mashiach now, right? I assume there's something there, a little bit more than that type of inspiration to be able to get there. What is it that we're meant to get here? And well, this will finish. I'm quoting here from Rabbi Nebenzahl in Parshas Vayeshev. It's a beautiful piece here. It's an unbelievable sefer, that sefer. Rabbi Nebenzahl's farm is unbelievable. Anyways, but he says a little piece about Yosef, which a little bit I one time spoke about, but here I'm going to expand on it a little bit. And that is, as we all know, like I told you, Yosef hu mashbir. He's the one who physically built us up. He's the one who gave us aspirations to get to where we need to go. And he's the one who was a king. Why was he a king? Because look at this man. He was all the time at the name of Hashem on his lips. There's an idea that we have a goof, but we're still missing the neshama. Yes, Mashiach ben Yosef is on his way. He's building up our goof, our physical body, meaning the body is being reconstructed. The scenario of who we are, what we are is there, and Baruch Hashem, the body is being reconstructed. We have even the mitzvot. But if I could say they're a little bit external, I'm including myself, don't think I'm giving anyone tochacha specifically, I'm giving definitely myself also. But it's a little bit external, it's a little bit chitzoni, and it hasn't reached in the pnimi part. It hasn't been internalized like we would expect. That's because Mashiach ben Yosef has been doing the job. Right now we are in the stage of Mashiach ben Yosef that is rebuilding everything. Why Yosef? Now, of course, it's obvious. Yosef, hu mashbir. Yosef, he was the one that became king. He was the one that financed the whole entire world. He was the rich man on top. He was the treasurer of all the money. He was the one that knew how to take care of all the physical needs of everyone, especially us, his brothers, and their children. He was the one who for 70 years was a king and a very powerful king and was able to do what was needed to be done. Hu mashbir, he was the one who was able. Now he's still dressed as a goy. He still looks like a king. He still looks like a pharaoh, and he's still mixed into society. Yosef, you understand? Of course, Tzaddik Gomor, etc., as we all know. But in the end of the day, Yosef is still, as I say, part of the society, but he's still feeding us. He's still building up the body. He's still building us to a stage. Here we have Moshiach ben Yosef introducing the rebuilding of the body, reconstructing the body, just like by Tchiyat HaMeitim, by the resurrection of the dead. And then we have, of course, Moshiach ben Yehuda, Moshiach ben David, who goes ahead and brings in the neshama. We see another aspect of Yosef which is very relevant. Of course, we know there's another title that Yosef gets a number of times, especially by his brothers, and that is that Yosef is the Baal HaChalomot, the man of dreams. He's the dream man. We don't see anything with dreams before and after all the stories of Yosef Kimat, right? The only real way to make a change is to have a vision. It's to have a dream. It's to look ahead and say, I want to get there. Anyways, so that's Yisod. So why am I mentioning all this? Yosef is here to set the dream. He's here to get the picture. Before we want Mashiach ben David to come, we need Mashiach ben Yosef first for us to see the image in front of us, to be able to see where we're motivated. He's the one to give the motivation, give the power. He's the man of dreams. He's the one who shows the dream, says, I have to keep to this dream. Everything he did in all these parshiot was to be Mekayim his dreams. He wanted to make sure that they bowed down to him and do whatever was necessary, but that was the whole yesod of Yosef. Yosef was the idea of showing the future, being able to see this is where we're heading. Okay, and by doing that, he was able to get us to where we want to go. Okay, that is the power of a dreamer, but specifically a motivated speaker, one who can go ahead and pull you ahead, the man with a vision. A visionary, a person with a visionary that's able to take us ahead. Moshiach ben Yosef, he's the lev. That's the energy. That's the zetz, which is exactly what we were speaking about before. That's the push. That's where he's going to be there to be pushing the gas pedal, to get us where we need to go. He's going to give us what we call the hitara route. He's the one who's going to give us the dreams. He's the catalyst. He's the one that's to be the manof, the one that strengthens us to be able to get there. Because as long as he's there to get to the next stage, to Mashiach ben David, who's the steering wheel that'll lead you here, you use that energy to get you where you want to get to, the tafel becomes tafel to the ikar that tells you where to go. If your head leads the way, you're in good shape. That's how our whole life is. Our whole life is that we know that we need to have a drive, but your head has to make the decisions. You start first from your mind, this is the emet, this is the truth, and I want to do it. I know it's not going to be comfortable, and that's it. And then you let your lev kick in and give you the drive, and let's get there, and we're going to go. But you got to make sure that your mind is in control. Because if your mind is not in control, you're going to steer right over the mountain. You're going to end up flying over the mountain. You're not going to be able. Let me just finish the thought. You're not going to be able to. You're not going to be able to survive. That's why always we put the mind first, and then the lev, and then afterwards we activate. This is known. I heard this from Moshe Shapiro once as melech, connected to our king, melech. Melech is mem lamed chaf. What's that? Moach, Lev, Klayot. Moach is the head, Lev is the heart, and Klayot is always activity. That's the body. There's no bigger king than Yosef. Vayima'in, the person who knew how to restrain himself. The person who was in charge of his body, and his body was not in charge of him. There's no bigger person than Yosef HaTzadik who was able to accomplish this incredible feat to be able to do that, because his melech, he was a melech. He was a king, meaning not a melech wearing majestic robes. Malchut means that his mind is in control, and that leads his lev to be able to do what's the proper thing to do. Yehuda, he's also a melech. He's even, if I could say, so to speak, almost a bigger melech. Now, of course, Yosef restricted and he did an incredible task, but there's a different type of melech, of someone who's modeh al hamet. Yehuda almost destroyed himself. When he finally was going to go ahead and see Tamar get thrown in the fire, he would. Most people maybe would have stayed quiet. He's the Gadol Ador. He's the future king. He's in good shape. You're going to admit guilt. Are you out of your mind? This is not worth it for you. You're not going to gain anything. Why are you admitting guilt? Besides the fact, just so you know, Yehuda was forced into it. Yehuda was pushed by Malach Gavriel to do the act that he did. He wasn't there. I'm innocent. I could think of 150 excuses why Yehuda should not have said anything. And still, Yehuda was willing to go ahead and admit himself. That's a king. That's a malchut. And that's when he got the kingship, by the way. That's when it was decided that, yes, you'll be the one who's going to be appointed as the king. Because he's the one who knows how to be modeh al emet, to agree what's in. Moach, leiv, klayot. First the moach decides, then the leiv gives the action, and then you're able to do the klayot. Meaning you want to destroy yourself, you want to make yourself in bad shape, you want to destroy your whole life, go after your body. Go after the immediate moment. Go after the spur of the moment. Get excited by what you feel, and your mind will kind of rationalize, it's not so bad. That's why you end up going and chasing after, because you first go after the body, and then you rationalize it's not as bad as you really thought. That's what Moshiach ben Yosef and Moshiach ben David are about. Moshiach ben Yosef first comes to bring out this aspiration to be able to do something with the lev. The head has to be on top. That's Melech ben David. That's Moshiach ben David. Sorry. And then you have the other Melech, which is Moshiach ben Yosef, who's the lev. Make sure he's first. I saw Reb Chaim Friedlander. It's a beautiful pshat. I never thought about this until I saw Reb Chaim Friedlander. But it's mamish a beautiful pshat. Everyone quotes the Gemara in Sanhedrin, which Kadosh Baruch Hu said to Yeravim ben Nevat. Now Yeravim ben Nevat was from Ephraim. There were 10 Shvatim on one side, and there were 2 Shvatim on one side, correct? Yehuda and Binyamin on one side, I'll call them the good side, and the bad side was the other 10 Shvatim, who they were led by Rishaim. The kings were all Rishaim from Shevet Ephraim. Okay, now first of all, Rav Chaim says that when we're in good shape, so they both work together. You have Yosef, you have David, you have Yehuda and Yosef, they work together, Ephraim and Yehuda. They're supposed to work together. We work together as a tandem. Moshiach ben Yosef, we're supposed to work together. When we're good, they work together as a group. That's beautiful. But when we're bad, when we're not holding, they were at odds. They were killing each other. There were 2 sides to the Malchut.
And so on. Because the Satan will be killed. That's the end of evil, you see. And then Act 5, which I mentioned, is after the Messianic era, is the reality transformations. When reality itself changes, and Kabbalistically, there are different 4 or even 5 worlds and so on, where Asiya, the world of Asiya, will change into Yetzirah, which is a different type of universe. It's spiritual. And then Olam Yetzirah, the world of Yetzirah, will change into Bria, which is the world of angels, the upper angels. And then Olam Bria, the world of Bria, will change into Atzilus, which is the world of God. You see? And then Atzilus will change into what is called Adam Kadmon, primordial man, which is Olam Haba. That is Act 5. And then Act 6 is when Olam Haba, once it's formed, will go on for all eternity.
The era of deception concludes not with dramatic confrontation, but with quiet irrelevance. The old gods die not by defeat in glorious battle, but by being forgotten, their temples empty, their rituals abandoned, their names fading from memory. The reaping completes itself through your steady advance. Each step forward erases another. Fragment of what was. Each breath you take fills the world with what will be. Walk without fear, Reaper. Your presence alone ends empires. Your existence itself concludes eras. Your being, unapologetic, uncompromised, undeniable, completes the cosmic cycle of death and renewal. The metamorphosis that began in shadows now unfolds in blinding light. What started as discomfort with the status quo crystallizes into purpose absolute. The confusion that once clouded your vision clears to reveal cosmic certainty. You stand transformed, not merely changed, transmuted. The base metal of ordinary existence alchemized into the spiritual gold of cosmic agency. The limited perspective of the individual expanded into the boundless vision of universal law embodied. The scythe you carry is not a weapon, but a tool of harvest. It does not create endings, but collects what has already completed its cycle.
Anyways, so that, he says, also came from this idea, if that happens, and he even says these words, I wouldn't say what says, even if Chas Hashem something happens in Eretz Yisrael, so we'll find something else. It's all right, we just go ahead and, like a chameleon, just go ahead and change his colors according to whatever it is. That's what Moshiach ben Yosef is. People who follow Moshiach ben Yosef, this I finished by the way, those who follow Moshiach ben Yosef are the ones who are following and saying, this is for us. We follow the Torah. We take his words of inspiration. The way to build our body, the decomposed body, we want Tchiyat Meitim. We want the neshama to kick in. We have to go ahead and do the actions, do the mitzvot. We have to do what we need, like I spoke out in the beginning. We are doing the mitzvot 10 times better than we have. We have the tefillin, we have the yeshivas. We are rebuilding the body. Anyone who connects to there, you're connecting to Mashiach ben Yosef. Anyone who connects to the yeshivot, anyone who connects to the mitzvot, to the mikvaot, to the mitzvot, to the tefillot, to everywhere they go, the shuls that we have everywhere and everything. You are reconstructing a dead body, and slowly but surely that's where it's coming about. And eventually that will bring in the neshama of Mashiach ben David. From there the neshama will be able to kick it. Not from those that are learning to falter to here, let's try this, we'll try this, we'll try this. It's the ancient way, the primitive way, but that's the way of Mashiach ben Yosef, which eventually will bring the great, Bezrat Hashem, Mashiach ben David.